Okay, so let's discuss what happened very recently with the live stream for Genshin, right? We're going back to Mondstadt, cool. I think the live stream itself was good, in the sense that it, gave us what we wanted to know, in a sense. We're getting Escoffier, and we're going back to Mondstadt. The event looks really interesting, and then there's the event, or story rather, involving with Escoffier and Fontaine, even throwing in the Natling characters now that they're free to roam around and stuff like that and help out those who are in need or whatever. So pretty cool. We get to see a little bit of crossover, like within Genshin. Very nice. However, there was one outlier, one big elephant in the room, and that is the English voices, or lack thereof, for during the trailer, right? By default it was in Japanese. And then this also correlates to what happened with ZZZ's recent update, featuring 1.7's story and Vivian, all that fun stuff. We did notice that 3 characters got their voices replaced and changed. Not the first time this has happened, unfortunately, but Sokaku was definitely one of them for sure, like more times over than I can count maybe. But Lycan, right, and a number of other characters, including very recently Coletta, Grace, and Rena. I took a listen to their new voices, and I think overall it's okay, but it definitely misses like the initial sort of impressions and like the notes that kind of was established by the first voice actors. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So you could say they sound a little more normal, and to some people that's fine. I mean, personally, I think Coletta is, I don't want to come off as mean, but a little more tolerable to listen to when she's fighting, I think. But yes, she's supposed to be like angry, angst, short-tempered, whatever, right? Which, okay, one can argue that. And by the way, I forgot to disclaim this, but I actually overall listen to or experience these games in Japanese, but I do listen to the English voices from trailers and just samples and clips and all that fun stuff, just for have a little fun comparison for myself, because I like doing that, because it's very interesting to me. And so overall, yes, I do prefer Japanese voices. That's just me, right? But I do understand that there is a good amount of people, including my friend, who also enjoys this game, plays the game in English. Okay, and so I respect that. Everyone has their preferences for their respective languages. There's Korean, Chinese, Japanese, English, blah blah blah, whatever, right? We all have our preferences and reasons why we listen to these voices. I did want to express my sort of sympathy for people who are trying to listen to these games in English because of what's been going on with stuff outside the game, which of course I'm referring to the strike, mainly from SAG-AFTRA, right? Involving with the SAG-AFTRA and the initial premise of protecting their actors and such like that, their voice actors and all that stuff, VAs, whatever, from AI. Though strangely, right, this whole situation of itself has been messy because it's been very confusing. A lot of information thrown left and right, misinformation on top of that, and just other things that kind of clash with each other. But first and foremost, though, there has been very unpleasant behavior, let's just say, from a number of VAs when one of the characters got replaced with their English voice, and that of course was Kenichi. Kenichi was definitely one of them. Jacob Takanashi, I believe his name, tweeted it out. Hey, I'm the new voice of Kenichi, blah blah blah. And a couple of actors or slash actresses have been very unhinged, showing their disgust this towards this tweet for some reason. Like they think, oh, you're just doing it for clout, all of that stuff. But it's kind of like a double standard, because it's like, well, don't you tweet about your character and such like that in that sort of matter, right? So why is it him when he's doing it is for clout, but for you it's okay? There's no like nothing behind it or anything like that, and stuff like that has been sort of like thrown back at them, called out for. And that included the VA for catching. Though I will say, very recently, catching her VA, English VA, did issue an apology, public and I guess privately, from what I've gathered. So credit to her for doing that. Although there was one little thing that kind of irked me a little bit, but I guess it is what it is at this point, so I'm not gonna dive into that too much. However, the English VA for Paimon is, however, not in that same sort of light, or she has not gone to that part of the situation, right, to issue an apology and all that stuff. I think she's pretty much like doubling down on what she believes and such like that, and it just comes off as unhinged, emotionally charged, and a lot of the things that she says comes off as kind of either inaccurate or something you just can't take seriously. And especially on top of that, her behavior in the past, I think, has not been in the best light, especially under the scope of Hoyo and like just I guess the public eye. But this one has been taking the cake, and pretty much a lot of people have been going after her and calling her out for it and such like that. And then she kind of like tries to deflect it or gaslight, whatever, right, the term. Oh, that's not my account, that's AI, blah blah blah, like try to do as much damage control for herself as much as possible, but no one's buying it. I think she should hold herself accountable for that, but she's just not doing so. So these actors, right, that do exude this sort of behavior, I don't know, I think it's just horrible behavior for the most part, especially for those who did go after Takanashi for that. It's horrible. It's definitely horrible, especially for those who have not come out and apologized for that. So I hope I was hoping that was going to get corrected at some point, but then the most recent live stream kind of conveyed a message of sorts from Hoyo, pretty much saying, hey, we're gonna look into these English voice actors and try to see if we can find replacements for them, because seemingly, yeah, like they're on strike, or they're partaking in the strike, and that of itself has like been confusing, because all that information dump and everything, everyone's kind of like saying, oh, no, this is it, no, this is the truth, no, that is the truth, whatever, man. It's just been a horrible mess. Just like this whole subject it's a mess to mess with. But I think the actions of Hoyo were very telling of how they are viewing this whole situation. And so the trailer by default that they showed for the live stream, or during the live stream for this new upcoming patch, was just like wow, like Japanese voices by default, that's really saying something. I think that to me tells that says that they are going to look into this, and they are going to just pretty much begin what I call the purge, with the exception of the newer characters, because I think those actors are definitely like not union or anything like that, and of course including Takanashi. So I think for the most part, afraid to say that we're gonna have yet another series of replacements coming our way. Well, at least for the English voice enjoyers. And I did want to express my sympathy, if I haven't said already, because they've been like going through a number of like very jarring experiences with the voices being muted or not there, not recorded, all that stuff. And the quality of their experience has been hindered because of that, because of this whole situation. So those previous actors or the actors in question have not been coming in to record because they're not partaking in any work and participating in the strike, so to say. Which is funny because there's been a term thrown around, which is basically a collective, work refusal instead of the strike, because that's what it seems like, what it appears to be, according to a number of other voice actors and such. And funny enough, the voice actor for Risley in Genshin tried to explain what was really going on, but again, it's like, well, I don't agree, or this is the truth, that's the truth. There's just more of that been happening, which is why I can't really like really just offer any other opinions other than it's a mess. It's really a whole mess and a half. And at this point, I mean, Hoyo looks like they're going to really step it up with the voice actor replacements in the English side of things. But meanwhile, when it comes to Japanese and other such languages, they're fine. There's no union or any of these whole need to protest, so to say, because I think in Japan, at least, their voice actors or seiyus are treated very well in comparison to here in the States, unfortunately. Working as a voice actor here is just, you're doing it for the passion, and you are hardly doing it for the money, unfortunately. And of course, what do you need to put on the table? You need money, to put bread on the table. Passion will only take you, I guess, so far. It's that of itself, I think, is an issue. Definitely that should be addressed, because I endear voice acting. I endear the practice of it, because obviously I love cartoons, and what brings cartoons to life, voices, right? The voice actors are doing that. There's just a whole lot of just things that I do find suspicious when it comes to the union, right? SAG-AFTRA, to be exact. It really seems like, to me, they're just trying to pull in these big names to be union projects, and what that does is gives incentive for all the non-union actors to try to join SAG-AFTRA. And what does SAG-AFTRA do? They force people to pay fees out the wazoo in hopes of providing some sort of like health care and pension and stuff like that, other benefits and whatever. But you have to meet a certain criteria or payment threshold or some sort of income threshold. And apparently, from what I've gathered, that doesn't happen all that often, unfortunately. So really, you're not really getting the benefits, most likely, because again, there's the issue of voice actors being underpaid. You have to be either a huge name, or you have to just get enough projects going in order to even get those benefits, those basic benefits, right? Including healthcare and all that. It's a terrible situation. My heart goes out to people who are affected by it. I mean, it sucks that they're put into that situation. You know what I mean? Like that they want to take part of the strike. Like, I get it, but they just then act like so unhinged for losing their role and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but that's the choice you made. So you just can't get super angry at other people and such like that. Again, I do get it. I get the sort of like incentive to do that because yeah, you know, voice actors should like look out for each other and stuff like that. But then again, you know, you got people who are just berating other voice actors whenever they partake certain roles, right? Like in a certain context, and of course that includes the Takanashi situation or Kenichi situation. But it all ends up just hindering the quality and experience for the English voice enjoyers. You know, even though yes, I don't play these games in English, I can sympathize because it's like it's just as simple as I want my experiences to be good as much as possible. I think it's, to me, that simple, you know. And it sucks for them, right? And say what you will about the quality of the English voices, whatever, that's a whole nother discussion, right? But I think it is to say that, yeah, like this whole situation has had some sort of cost, and the players are definitely affected by it besides the actors, right? But at the end of the day, Hoyo is going to be doing what they got to do to fulfill their business, right? And you know, they're a company, their business, and they're just gonna replace them. You know, that's all there is to it. It sucks, but I think in some certain circumstances, I think it kind of calls for it because of some of the behavior of or not some, like the behavior of some of these voice actors, right, that have been exuding over time. English voices and Hoyo are just like oil and water, man. It's just continuing to be cursed. You know, if it's not the strike happening, there's always something going on with the English side of things, man. Whether it be just something from like the drama side of things, like, you know, this voice actor had an opinion of something and the players go after them because of course the Genshin community is just filled with a bunch of screwballs. You know what I mean? Which is unfortunate, but that's what happens. And we've seen the community side of Genshin just being unhinged and at fault, you know, and that sucks. I also would like to sympathize with anyone who has been on the receiving end of that, including fan artists too, which I've also discussed that. But it goes the other way around too. Like whenever there are voice actors who are being problematic, they should be rightfully called out for, you know, including the old voice actor for Tinari, right? Like I guess for the most part, you know, the guy was a total creep, couldn't keep his hands to himself, I think, or something like that, or just can't keep his mouth shut when it comes to talking to younger people and stuff like that. It's gross, obviously. And I'm glad that Hoyo was like quick about that. That I think was a good case on their part. However, you know, like it's just, this whole thing is a whole jumbled mess, a whole mess and a half. Again, that's all I can really say in basic terms. But yeah, man, it's that live stream with that trailer, man. I was like, I literally said, oh my god. Well, I like mouthed, oh my god, like quietly to myself, because that was such a like very telling message from Hoyo when it comes to this whole English voice acting situation. All right, hey everyone, Sean here. I'm just actually recording this the next day after that this little video right here, and I wanted to record this and add it in here because there's just been more and more stuff developing as the days go by, and this is definitely no exception, involving with Venti's English voice actress, kind of giving her side of what's going on. According to her, apparently they have been actually sending out some rather threatening letters, though there are no screenshots of said letters, so I'm not going to judge beyond what I heard. But yes, this is coming straight from a voice actress, so take that as you will. But again, it just adds everything all on top of the pile that's been this situation. Again, it just continues to make things look very messy on SAG-AFTRA's part. I just really cannot really, put my sort of finger on the pulse, because there's just a lot of blubber and fat and just absolutely just confusing and tangled, and just it's like I said, it's a mess. And again, the more I look into it, the more I just see SAG-AFTRA trying to just wrangle up all these franchises and projects to be a part of their circle. So again, it would just give incentive to the actors to join said guild and pay their dues, pay their fees and all that. All for what? The possibilities of these benefits, when a few percentage will actually get there and reap said benefits. There's just so many like contradictions and just misinformations that I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of it at this point. So I don't know, for anyone who watches this in the VOD side of things, or the YouTube video side of things, please comment down below. Like, what do you guys think of this? It all goes back to here too, like ZZZ with the voices being replaced. Like, it sucks, because you try to attach yourself to these voices, right, with these characters, but then if they're just gonna keep replacing them, especially for someone like Sokaku, it's like it's hard to get attached when it comes to the English side of things. Plus, just the jarring experience of just having certain characters being muted across the Hoyo games, including Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and ZZZ. Lycan was a very definitive example of that. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention. Now it's not confirmed fully, but it pretty much does. It seems like there's the writings on the wall, right? Well, as to why the VAs for Coletta, Grace, and Rina have been replaced. I think it's likely due to the strike, them partaking in it. But what's confusing about that is that it's like, besides just looking out for just fellow actors and stuff like that, okay, that part I get. But if it's for AI protection, I mean, there's already built-in AI protections in a number of these clauses, including the studios that record the English voices for the Hoyo games, I think. So that's what makes this confusing. And then, some of the actors are like, "Oh, I was unaware that I was getting replaced," and all that stuff until now. But then, the studio comes out with their own post or tweet saying that, "Hey, we contacted these actors or whatever. We tried to tell them, like, hey, like, you haven't come in, would you like to continue," or whatever. I don't know what the exact words, but it's regarding to that. And I don't know, they just I guess they don't answer. So it's like, oh, okay, well, if you're not gonna come in, we gotta do what we gotta do to fulfill our business. What's funny, at one point I did consider trying to be a voice actor, right? I did take an acting class in a college, and then that really like improved my audition. The next time I did an open audition for what was it? It was Bang Zoom. I didn't record that, sadly, because I recorded my first one, and that was what you can expect, right? But the next time I did that, there was a huge improvement, and I forgot to have that recorded. That's like one of the regrets I kind of still have, but at the end of the day, it's kind of whatever at this point. Especially the more I see into like the hassles and just like the things that you have to deal with as a voice actor. So I don't know if I'll ever be up for that, from what I've gathered. I hope this situation settles down at some point. I like we need to just move on. like, okay, you know, I also do hope though something works out for the strike, right? And hope everyone is happy, or most much people can be happy as much as possible, but there also has to be some correct action when it comes to the terrible behavior from certain voice actors and actresses. So hopefully everything gets like leveled out, and that's all I'm going to ask for at this point. So anyways, again, comments down below, love to read them. I want to see, I like to see different perspectives if you have them. Do you agree or disagree? You know, let me know, man. Let me know. That's it on that. So we can now pretty much head on over to finish the story for ZZZ.